What's happening, y'all? This is Mike D with Black Fathers Now, where we're bringing the village to the brothers. Every couple of weeks, you can look forward to a quick inspirational message or a thought-provoking guest with knowledge and wisdom, all geared towards helping you be the best father that you can be. We're bringing the village to you. Now it's your turn to do something with what you learned. All right, y'all. Let's go. What's going on, fellas? Mike D here, and welcome to Black Fathers Now. Hope y'all are having a wonderful, wonderful day today. Today's message is spawns from a conversation I had recently with a really good buddy of mine. My boy Jared came into town for an interview, and he and I sat down and kind of rapped about life and all of that stuff over lunch when he was in town. And what was interesting was he kind of hit me to a perspective that made me think very deeply, right? And that perspective spawned from previous conversations we had had about going hunting and fishing and all of that. Now, see, Jared was talking to me about, going and buying hunting rifles and all of that stuff because ultimately, he and his wife made a decision to start going through the process of harvesting a lot of their own protein, right? So he's going to start hunting and harvesting his own deer and, wild game and fishing and all of that kind of stuff, partly because, he wants to provide his family with the healthiest protein available that's not connected to commercial agricultural establishment. So what they call them, the CAFO farms. So the commercial, farm outfits or whatever. He wants to get stuff that's as natural as possible. But also, and this kind of came up over our conversation with lunch, he mentioned the concept of being connected to the source. Connected to the source. It was interesting because as he further explained his logic in regards to harvesting a lot of his own protein and going and hunting and, having the meat processed or actually learning how to process it himself and, actually having having a hands-on experience in bringing on the protein that his family's going to consume, he mentioned the concept of being connected to the source. And his logic after that was the farther we get away from the source, the more chaos can jump in the middle. The farther we get away from the source, the more chaos jumps in the middle. And it made me think because recently, it might have been him, but somebody posted something on Facebook and they mentioned that one of the biggest tragedies in today's society is that kids grow up thinking breakfast comes from the fast food restaurant and dinner comes from the grocery store. They don't understand the source. Most people are not connected to an agricultural society, so they don't see things being grown in the backyard, or they don't go and, butcher their own protein or have to go hunt their own protein. We are used to, in our day and age, because of convenience, which is a good thing. Now, don't get it twisted. I enjoy the conveniences of going to a grocery store, but by doing that and doing that only, we have zero connection to the actual source of the things that we consume, whether they be proteins or meats, or whether you're vegan or vegetarian, even like the agricultural products, the fruits and vegetables, we have zero connection, a very minimal connection to the actual source. And to Jared's point, he mentioned that the farther we get away from the source, the more chaos can ensue because then it can insert itself in the middle of the process. So then you think about this, right? There's a lot of conversation about preservatives and additives and things of that sort in food. When does that take place? Yes, some of it happens when it's being grown. People put, pesticides, preservatives, all that kind of stuff on the crops and the seeds that they're growing. But in reality, the vast majority of the tainting or the chaos that ensues is between the source and the end product. So when things become packaged, or when things do get preservatives added to them, or when they are seasoned, or when they are, just all kind of stuff, so many hands touch the process from start to finish. Whereas if you are the person that's connected to the source, there's minimal chance for chaos to ensue. It's interesting, right? Being connected to the source. And so for me, as I sat there, and Jared and I have, conversations that are pretty deep at times, and we get spiritual, we get, very in depth in our thought process. It made me also think about it from a spiritual perspective. Okay, I've mentioned before, I'm a Christian personally, and I know there are various listeners that have various, people of different faiths and all. But when you think about the whole concept of being connected to the source, for me, it also took me to a spiritual place where I'm thinking about me being connected to my spiritual source. The farther I get away from that, the farther I get away from God, that's when chaos can jump in the middle, right? So it's important for me personally, due to my belief structure, to be consistently connected to the source. You see, and it was interesting, this all spawned from him talking about a conversation with his wife about how they made the commitment to go and start sourcing their own protein, and, for health reasons and all of that, but then also being connected to the source. He wanted to be a part of the process. And what was interesting was he's never been hunting before. And so what he also said was, I might get up in the deer stand and have the deer lined up, and I might not be able to pull the trigger. And he said, if I cannot pull the trigger, I probably need to consider going vegan or vegetarian. And it made me think, I was like, wow. When you think about times of old, when folks grew up in an agrarian society where we had to farm our own stuff and raise our own livestock and chickens and all of that, the guys had to go outside and, butcher the chicken or butcher the hog or slaughter the cow or whatever. You actually had to put hands on the process, right? And if you're not willing to put hands on the process, should you then consume the end product? And it made me think about it, because I personally have never been hunting before. I want to go, but I've never been hunting before. And I definitely want to go through that particular process. And to his point, I think I would probably come to the same conclusion. If I went hunting and I'm sitting there and it's time for me to take my shot, if I do not have the gumption to take that shot, personally, I probably need to stop eating meat. That's deep, right? That's deep. Like, it made me think about it too. I was just like, I'm so disconnected to the process. I'm not connected to the source. So for me personally, I want to go through that process just to test myself. But I use this example, fellas, to kind of throw to you all the concept of being connected to the source. Now, this concept, this show is about fatherhood. This is about Black fatherhood. This is Black Fathers Now. So think about our children. Are they connected to us? Because once again, when we are not connected to the source, chaos can ensue, because there's so much space in between there. Now, I'm not saying our kids always have to be attached to our hips, but they need to be connected to us in some way, shape, or form. Some type of relationship, some type of interaction on a regular basis, some type of communication, some type of transfer back and forth between you and your children needs to happen. The same thing with our wives, right? With our, if you're not married, your girlfriend or your significant other, same thing needs to happen there. There needs to be some level of connection there. Because when you're not connected to the source, when you're not connected, or the farther you are apart, the more space there is for chaos to ensue. So, fellas, I'm leaving you today with a question. Are you connected to the source? In whatever subject matter you're thinking about, in whatever topic you can think about, are you connected to the source? And if you're not, it's probably time that you reestablish that connection. All right. Well, as always, fellas, this episode is brought to you by Black Family Apparel. Visit blackfamilyapparel.com and grab some awesome apparel that celebrates all the nuances of the Black family. Blackfamilyapparel.com. And, definitely follow Black Fathers Now on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Visit blackfathersnow.com. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, whatever, man. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, definitely subscribe. And please, please, please share this with your family and friends, especially the other brothers out there, because as a people, we need to definitely make sure that we are connected to the source. All right. Until next time, my brothers, be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.
Yo, fellas, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And always, always, always visit blackfathersnow.com, as well as follow Black Fathers Now on virtually every social media platform you can think of. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just follow us and engage with us, man. Look forward to hearing from you. And I guess until next time, I'll holler at you. Peace.